Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order at 6:32. First thing on the agenda is the conflict of interest disclosure. If there's any conflicts of interest. Hearing none. Additions to the agenda.
I just have to add, I need a form for MRGP, needs to be signed.
Okay. Okay. And, okay, we'll approve orders on there, so that's one. Did you have something, Karen? I'm sorry, town meeting warning?
Town meeting timeline in the warning.
Yep.
I just wanted to say a few things about the town report. But
Okay.
you go right in.
Yep, sure. I thought maybe just a quick update on the AA position would be a good thing to add to the agenda, if that makes sense. We didn't do it on Saturday. I just thought it'd be worthwhile just giving a quick update on the sewer grant project, because it was one of those things that was kind of unofficially talked about, so. And all of these are, if we have time, because I think the budget is, I would suggest the budget's probably number one.
Right.
I was gonna just, if we had time, just a quick conversation about Zoom and virtual meetings. There was an update / question I had there, and I think that's kind of it. So, does that sound reasonable to everybody? I'm not sure if that's the appropriate way to add agenda items, but.
Oh, that screen is crooked, or is this?
So I guess the next, if we're good with that in terms of the additions to the agenda, the next would be public comments. If any of us have received public comments or there are public comments.
Dale sent this to you guys as an email.
Oh, is that the thing about Rick?
Oh, no, I think I only sent that to
Okay.
Jeff. I might have sent it to everybody.
Yep, okay, so I assume that kind of the way we should do is just read this? Okay, so there is an email that was sent on Saturday, January 21st. And it says, "Dear Miss McCann, I'm retired and have a small sugaring operation at my home in Royalton. I will be tapping some maples along Route 110 on property of John Houston. Is wondering if the Selectboard would mind if I hung a few buckets on the nice maples along the road by Dickerman Hill Cemetery. This would happen in March. I've been sugaring for many years and would not overlap the trees. I'm guessing there are 5 or 6 trees that would support 2 or 3 buckets apiece.
Okay.
I would pay the town 40 cents per tap. I will clean up
Yes, I can get it.
any dead branches and will only park on the side of the road when gathering. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Bob Harrington, South Royalton, Vermont."
Can I just say something? Dickerman Hill Cemetery is not ours. It's Tunbridge. It's not our town.
Well, that's going to be my question. So,
I didn't know it was our property.
as I read that, I was thinking that. So,
Well, it's just a mistake.
I guess we'll take that as, and maybe we can respond to Mr. Harrington and let him know he should contact the town of Tunbridge. As I read that, that's what I was kind of thinking that might be. And there was one other public comment that came in. It says, "Selectboard, please pass on to Rick Ackerman how grateful Carol and I are for his prompt and effective response to the plowing request. We asked the FBA, I'm assuming First Branch Ambulance, to radio out to him today. We just got home from a 4.5-hour slog over the mountains from Massachusetts when we could not make it the final mile up Densmore Road, even with rerunning starts, studded snows, and a front-wheel drive. After a nice rest at Rhoda's, all was well within an hour. Carol and Bob Fernier, Town Farm Road." So, kudos to our road crew and to Rick. So, are there any other public comments that we're aware of? The next agenda item then would be to approve minutes.
I didn't make any yet.
We don't have any draft minute. When we meet every other day, it's hard to come up with.
I'm gonna type tomorrow.
No worries, Karen, thank you. I'll speak for myself. I don't think we're gonna wanna keep meeting every other day once the budget's done. Approved orders, Gail, what's next?
Yep, I have those here.
Okay,
If everybody wants to look at them. I did send them in the email, but
so
everybody got
do we
them.
wanna just kinda send them around through the meeting and come
Yeah.
back and approve them after? Is that how it's been done in the past? or-
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe what we'll do is we'll skip that one down to the bottom and come back to it at the end, if that's,
Sure.
is that reasonable to everybody? And now we're into budget discussions. One thing I would mention is I do have an update, executive session. I did have a chance to connect with Nolan, and I just wanted to make sure we gave the board an update. So. With that said, Gail, where do we want to start?
Well, we just gotta, I should have figured this out before I came here, but, I did go through and fix a few things, because some of the formulas were,
Did we leave off? Did we leave off the other day at the sewer?
yeah, we can go there if you want. I put them in all separate tabs because this is really the only one that deals with the taxes. And this is that, and then this is all the funds, which I really don't need. Okay, so I put in all the numbers that needed to go for the health insurance and all that.
Because if I remember right, we had talked through the salaries for water and sewer, and we split it a third and 2/3, I think.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
correct.
And according to our budget, I went back and figured out how we're supposed to figure the rates. And if we went by this budget for each quarter, just the water would be $122.46
Per user.
per user per unit. And then the sewer would be $268.52. And that's normally, I always get them backwards. I think the sewer is usually 121 and the water is 82, I believe.
So it's that great of an increase.
Yeah, so it's quite an increase, so we may, I don't know what we can do. I don't think we can increase it that much. People will dig their own wells. So it's just something to think about.
Something that we'll want to come back and look and see where we increased.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have to set the rates tonight. It's just giving
Right.
us an idea of what we need to.
All right.
Because
It's per year. It would be
268.
four. Oh, wait, that's the water. Per year it would be $1,074.06. That's just for sewer, and for water it would be $489.83.
so
1,500 a year for water and
Yeah, and
sewer.
it used to be $818 a year, and that's just for one unit.
it used to be one. I'm sorry.
$818 a year
818.
for just one unit.
Businesses have 2 units,
Most of them, and some houses.
or some houses
Yeah.
are 2 units as well.
Yeah.
Is that done by meter or like water usage?
No, it's done by how many bathrooms, I think. Yeah.
Can you speak up, because I'm not hearing anything you're saying.
Sorry. I asked if it was businesses had 2 units, and then what else had 2 units? And Gail answered,
Some houses, depending on bathrooms.
And so, Gail, if I'm looking at that correctly, there's 126 water users and 135 sewer users. Is that
Yes.
okay?
So, I mean, we we have all the numbers filled in. It's just, I don't know that we can change too much.
Right. So if we go down through it, so we're on the sewer, right?
Yeah.
The operating expense, the past year was budgeted at 7,500, but expense was 14,000. Do we know, was there some?
Yeah, I knew there was something I had to write, do a detail thing for. I'm not sure offhand.
Okay.
It may have said something to do with the people we hired.
Oh, it might have been the
Some-
contract work.
yeah.
Maybe would the contract work have gone there for the hiring
Yes,
Simon on
instead
and
of
stuff?
the
Okay.
salary. I
Okay.
mean, yeah.
I guess that would make sense then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Training was at 2,000. We didn't spend a lot this year, but I'm assuming we'll want to keep it at 2,000, knowing we may have to hire.
yeah, I don't know how much those classes run, but
Yeah.
they're gonna have to take them, whoever does.
Increase really is in wages.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did look up, whoever we hire full-time has to do VEMRs, because we're committed. And this other retirement was our IRA thing that Nolan was doing because he was grandfathered in. He didn't have to do it this year, but anybody from here on out does.
So, oh, I see. So we added a sizable amount to the wages, but then we agreed that we hopefully won't need any overtime, right? So that's a
Yeah.
budgetary, I mean, it's a little budgetary gymnastics, but
Yeah.
Right.
And health insurance just for one person, and then I put in the opt-out if the person, and I can't remember what the hours were, but I think it was 30 hours. If they had 30 hours or more, they got the insurance opt-out if they didn't want insurance. So I don't know if we really need that if we're only gonna hire somebody for 12 hours. I mean, 20 hours.
right. But we put it in there just in case. I mean,
Yeah, because I mean, either way, if the person opts not to take the insurance, we would need that line, but if they want to take insurance, we need this line, so we're covered both ways.
Did we ever look into this sinking fund to see if we could do some of the repairs out of that money?
It is, Karen looked it up, and it's for capital improvement and emergencies.
So we have to leave that.
Well, that's what I got from Hamilton. I haven't talked to Mike Whipple. I don't know if he knows.
but which, with the sinking fund, with what we're talking about for the grant. So if I, just comparing the water and the sewer, if I do that and divide it out, it looks like for water users, it's an increase of $27 per year. For sewer users, it's $88 a year with what we have budgeted now. Does that make sense, Gail? So if I took the 61,718 minus the 58,255 and divide by 125, does that make sense? Is that the,
What did you do?
like
Sorry.
underwater, the 61,718
Uh-huh,
minus the last year's budget, which was 58,255,
uh-huh.
which is the difference.
We didn't deal by last year's budget. We didn't, the rates haven't been changed for a while. The rates that
Oh,
we had last year. Yeah, it's been several years.
okay.
Yeah.
Which means we must have been operating at a deficit then?
Oh, for a couple of years.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we'll come back to the rate then to decide how we want to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking from year to year, we made those two
Yeah,
things solvent, but we
no,
didn't.
no, we try not to change it every year, but they were looking at it last year and we just didn't do it, I guess.
Okay. And when do we need to set the rates by?
We can set them anytime, really. It's just, best to do it at the end of a quarter, if you're gonna start a new quarter.
Right.
Call the water board meeting. Maybe not.
What, Karen, I'm sorry?
Maybe you have to call like a board meeting for the water department or sewer.
Right, a water board meeting. So maybe we shouldn't get too distracted by the rates right now and
Yeah, I just
come up
wanted
with
to-
what we think the reasonable budget is that?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you an idea of
Sure,
where we're
yeah,
at.
no, that's great. Which, I thought that our budget was increasing at the dollars, the rates per user, but it's really not. We get
No.
to set that independently and we'd only increase to that if we wanted to make it, the numbers match, so.
Right.
I just got really nervous when I thought it was comparing that, when you said that,
Oh.
last year's rates to this year's rate, I'm like, oh no, we can't be raising the budget that much.
Well, that's,
to-
yeah,
you know.
that's, right, that's what I was thinking too.
So did we feel comfortable with where we were with the water budget? Does everybody feel comfortable with where we are there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then
Good
you
with that.
good with that? So we want to go down to the sewer then? And go ahead, Gail. I mean, so we updated the salaries based on our previous meeting, and then you've updated everything below that, and so now we're down to like operating expense and those things.
Yeah, so we're at 31,000 in the hole, but I should have brought. I mean, this is what we've collected so far this year. We do have a little bit of delinquency, so I mean, this reasonably could go up some.
Our revenue
Yeah.
on both of those, you think you would expect we might?
If everybody pays, I mean, I should have brought the darn thing with me. Thinking we're like 13,000 maybe. Oh, no, I don't have it in there.
So in
I mean-
21 sewer fees were almost 111,000, and water was 61,000 and some change. So relatively close, but
Yeah. Maybe could add a little interest in here. I don't know what the interest rates are gonna be. That's why I didn't know if I dare put anything in there.
right.
Like,
what is the sewer refund?
I think that was insurance. We got a little bit of money back on our workman's comp.
Oh,
The
okay.
salaries were down.
So we shouldn't budget for that.
No,
So,
'cause they'll probably go up.
so, I mean, if we are receiving a certain amount of interest every year,
What was last year? Put those glasses.
I gotta put wow, I can actually read. This is awesome. I don't actually see it.
Yeah, I
right
mean-
here.
277. So we could put
Oh.
200.
So put like 250. Last year was 400. The year
Sure.
before was 270.
I mean, rates are going up, but I don't know if they get, oh,
And so,
better undo it. I don't know what I just
I mean, there is, in terms of anticipating revenue, revenue will go up if rates go up. And we're not setting rates tonight, but
Oh, because I didn't enable editing.
So the question becomes, do we want to leave the water user fees and the sewer user fees where they are, which is close to the 2-year average? Or do we want to assume some nominal increase?
It's been 2 years. You think that since the rates have gone up?
It's been more than that. I have the list in my office, but I almost think it was 2017.
Well,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So 6 years?
I would think
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so I, yeah. I think that something needs to happen if
Yeah.
it's been 6 years and the town is absorbing the
Yeah.
deficit.
Yeah.
so, I mean, and again, this isn't saying we're setting rates, but if we went in and said that, and I'm just gonna put numbers out there, if we said sewer would go up $100 per user, that raises $13,500. And if we said, and if we said water went up $25 or something like that, and again, I'm not suggesting those would be the rates, but it might be reasonable for at least budgetary purposes to assume something.
Yes.
And that's being sensitive to those that are paying it, obviously, but, so if we raise the sewer fees, and maybe we raise it using some kind of round number, and made the sewer fees, say, again, back to kind of roughly $100, if we raise that, that's 13,500, would be 128,500 for sewer fees. Does that make sense? Is what I'm saying make sense?
Yeah, I'm
With
not
the number,
sure-
does the math work, I guess?
Oh, don't ask me about the math, but what you're saying actually makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yes.
And then maybe on the water fees, we just say add $3,000. I mean, I don't know what the right amount is.
Yeah, I mean, this is just,
What?
I'll go back up, I just want to see. Bottom line is 14,000 now.
I mean, that gets
So,
us, closer.
Yeah, and because we don't have the rate set, we can't say for sure what this
Right.
will be. But at least, and we may not use all of these line items, like last year we had 5,000 left. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I guess that makes sense too.
And even with the extra expense of the higher labor
Right.
that we had.
So how does everybody feel about the operating expense going back down to 8,000? When does this fiscal year start? Sorry.
Oh, ours, yours starts in January.
Oh, we're already in it. Yeah, sorry. My brain was. I guess the question becomes, we're not gonna be hiring anybody tomorrow. So we're gonna probably still have to keep using Simon
Right.
for some amount of time.
And your thought is this would not be resolved by July?
Well, maybe, but we're already in the fiscal year, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, we're building the budget for a fiscal year that's already started.
January.
I know, that's the way it always is.
Right, it just,
She's in July.
Oh, no, school's July, we're January.
yeah.
So are you thinking we should increase that operating expense to cover the?
Months have we been using them?
Since November, 2 months.
It's not even that long and it's gone up that much.
And you might as well say we're already a month into the budget.
Right.
I think it needs to be increased.
Do we say
Yeah.
should we say we put it at 15,000 and see where we end up?
Yeah, I think we have to.
It would seem irresponsible not to do something, right?
Yeah.
As much as we don't want to.
Yeah,
And-
being practical, we have to do it.
And actually, the fact is that we're gonna get some savings off the salary piece of it because we don't have the position filled, but,
Right. So, might even.
That's
right. I mean, between the two, we might end up actually not having to spend all of that, but,
We have to budget for it.
right.
Okay, so,
Are there other things under the sewer budget that we,
I mean, repairs, we could probably put that down some.
Well, I think that goes back to the things that we thought needed to be done down there.
Oh, that's
More
right.
recently, which is why we upped it.
right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
little things like fixing
The fan, the bathroom,
The fans,
right,
the doors, the walls,
the roof.
the roof.
You forgot
The roof.
There's a leak in the roof.
I mean, realistically, when we go that depth into the list, 2,500 doesn't seem like enough.
It's gonna make it.
I think we were sort of thinking the immediate, the roof, the fan, the bathroom.
Right. So maybe we leave it at that?
Yeah, I think it has to be at the
Yeah.
25, yeah.
And we leave the training. The telephone, so the telephone is telephone and internet, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause- And I don't want to go too far off the budget conversation, but something I did think of is that consolidated
Yeah. No, it's charter.
charter? I guess one of the things I thought of was,
Well, no, he's what is he? He's consolidated. The highway is EC Fiber and, town is charter. And the transfer station's consolidated.
wow.
Yeah. Too many different ones.
Well, one of my thoughts, and again, not to go too far on a tangent, was like EC Fiber, like, do they make deals for municipalities that they're, kind of thing? I don't know, but it just,
Well, and can
something.
I mean, if it was an option, I mean, if, say we chose one company for all three places, you'd think you'd get kind of like a package deal maybe for doing that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe something for us to look into
Yeah,
moving
right.
forward.
Yeah.
And I just brought it up because it was, as I was going through the phone internet bills for all the different places, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Anything else here? Office supplies, I think we upped that to $1,200 because we know we gotta buy a computer down there.
Yeah.
And anything else that the folks think we should change, or do we feel that we're pretty comfortable with it like it is?
I think we're good for now.
So based on what we just came up with for both water and sewer, and with the revenues we did up above, that's still we're still operating at a $21,816 loss. I mean,
Yeah.
that's from a budget. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is, but
No, and depending on how the salaries go,
right.
could not be,
Right.
or it could be worse.
Okay. So what's next, Gail?
Okay, I guess we're done with that then, so we'll go back.
Is everybody good with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so what we did, my pen. This. Okay, so you take this amount here for the highway. And, oops, I'm too far. Let me just Yep.
on the highway. Okay. The line item for the rental of the mower. So we didn't actually, what's the, we rented 4,035. That's our rental.
Yeah. We rented
So we ended up using Berkshires.
yeah, and we rented some other equipment. I can't remember offhand what it was. It was,
So
There's no monetary exchange when we work with another town, is there?
no, we trade services, but we put this 10,000 in because we weren't sure if they were going to be able to do that again.
Well, so I got thinking about it afterwards. I couldn't figure out why the 12th, why, so if we did not share equipment with another town, if we did not use mutual aid for another town, we need to put $10,000 into the budget. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
If we used mutual aid with another town, we would not need to put $10,000 into the budget.
No, we should put some in there, but just
Agreed, but just not
Wouldn't have to
nearly
be
as
as
much.
much.
So that brings me back to the conversation of, are we trying to get rid of the roadside weed? Because I think that was the conversation.
Yeah.
And then, but Rick said he didn't necessarily believe in that. He believed in mowing in August. So I guess if we're gonna, my thought was, if the other town is done with it in August, why would we rent something for $10,000?
yeah, I don't quite remember the whole conversation on it. Do you?
Do you want
Well,
to
we-
amend my memory?
Yeah.
The 12,500 was because there used to be a company called Tenco, and it was in Barry, and the highway department used them a lot. And they had tractors, mowers, everything there, and that yearly they did that. Or they put that in because that was their standard thing. They moved, so a lot of the things that Tenco did, they moved far away to Claremont, where was it? It was so far away. Now, they did a lot of repairs, a lot of stuff with Tenco. But when they moved, I think it was sold or something, the company went down farther away. Then they had to, it became prohibitively expensive. They had to hire something to tow back and forth. And then, Rick was like, well, we can't keep using them. I mean, they're so far away. And that was why the 12.5 was there. And then they I mean, there's more history because there was a mower that Tenco was selling.
Right.
Okay, and then you get into that whole thing, but
I'm really just wondering why we added, we need to decide, I think, if we're gonna ask Rick to mow in June, which is when the other town's mower is being used, then we're saying we want to rent for $10,000.
Right.
You asked him to set up a rental with Andrew,
Adam.
I don't know him.
That happened.
But that's where, I thought that's where the 10,000 came from.
It is,
It is.
because I thought it was, well, you pay Berkshire, the other town, or you pay this guy. And then it dawned on me in the middle of the night, quite honestly, wait a minute, there should not be a line item for mutual aid. So if we use another town's
I know,
equipment,
I
it's
get it.
$10,000 cheaper than to rent. And I realized that after we left the meeting.
Right.
That's why I'm bringing it forth, of
Right.
should we really be pursuing mutual aid with other towns on this equipment? And there's actually a lot of towns that do that for many, many pieces of equipment. They have these, I understand that.
Okay, you gave Rick a saying, go schedule it.
Yep, I remember Jeff saying that, but I'm bringing it back because
Yeah.
one, has he scheduled it yet? He probably hasn't even gone to bed yet.
Right.
So I just wanted,
Possibilities.
I just wanted to bring it back, that's sharing resources with another town is actually a savings as opposed to putting $10,000 in the budget, and I don't think that this group, I didn't get it at the moment of the
I
conversation.
guess I sort of thought it was there temporarily, so I was a little unsure. I think we were seeing what the schedule was like more so.
Yeah.
and then see where we are budget-wise, and also confirm with Berkshire that they are indeed interested in continuing mutual aid use of their machine, but I think temporarily we had to like put that money aside so that we didn't write it off completely.
I didn't think, I thought we made the decision to go out and hire it, and I was thinking like, okay, well, maybe you pay the other town for the rental of the equipment. That's why I thought it was on, I get that now. When I went home and started looking at other budgets and was like, no, there's no swap of money here, so that's a $10,000 line item that I think we should decide if we want to spend that because we want to use a mower in June.
Right.
But we never really
Depends
resolved.
on if we want it mowed earlier, then we can borrow Berkshire's machine from.
But the
That's what it
other
comes
thing
down
is, then Rick mentioned the grass is all still growing again in August, and so does that mean that we would be mowing twice? I feel like maybe that's a line item that we didn't really think through.
Another thing to think about as far as doing the trade thing is it's still costing us money.
But it's in the budget. It's actually in the budget as the salary, so there's no
Actual increase in budget to the town of Chelsea by mutual aid.
Right.
It's not free, but it comes out of.
Right.
Exactly.
It
It
comes out
comes
of
out of,
It comes out of the
what-
salary.
Already
Yes.
budgeted items, I
right,
guess.
because we're already paying those people
Yeah.
to work. Yeah.
So I guess internalizing this, and then remembering our conversation the best that I can, is Rick's point was, if you mow in June, come August and September, you got grass and you can't see out of driveways, you can't see it, intersections and that kind of stuff. It's kind of my recollection. So it seems like Rick's preference would be to mow in August, July or August, which from that perspective kind of makes sense. There is the desire, to maybe try to knock some chervil down earlier in the year. And so if we were able to use Berkshire's equipment in July or August to do our work from this budget line item, that's a zero. I get your point, Bill, that it's still costing us, but it's budgeted elsewhere.
Right.
And then the question is, do we want to assume some form of contracting, say in June or whenever, to knock some chervil down, which may not be mow everything. It may be, if you drive around, there's area, and Rick knows them better than anybody, there's areas that can be targeted, and other areas that you probably wouldn't mow. So is this a lesser line item to say, hey, we're committed to knocking some chervil down, but not to the tune of full roadside mowing, which I think is what the number you got, Bill, which was like, can we have that, what would it cost us for a month of mowing?
Right.
So to me, that's the question. Do we want to assume for budgetary purposes that we could, and we don't know, but that we could work out the same deal we've had with first year for July and August, that's zero on this line item, and then some amount of money to knock some chervil down earlier in the year.
Another thing that I think we should also think about is it's good to get the actual mowing part done, but I think it would be nice to have some extra time to maybe cut back a few trees and things like that, because I know Rick runs into that quite often.
Would that be in this line item, Bill, under equipment rental, you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, they do it with a roadside mower.
Okay, gotcha.
What did Adam give you for a price? Wasn't it $2,500 a week?
You know what? I can't tell you actually. I think it was.
Yeah, because I think that's where we came up with the
I think
10,000.
that's,
Right.
So maybe we could cut it back if we're gonna still use Berkshire's machine and only, target the problem areas earlier. Maybe we could cut that back at least to half and get it done in 2 weeks, because we're doing half of the space.
Right, that's kind of that's in the line with kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, that's it. We
Yeah,
could,
2,500 a week.
Yeah, so that would be for a month, which he said it takes 3 weeks to a month to do everything.
right.
So I think being realistic, half would,
Are we comfortable with that?
I'm fine with it. Should we check with Rick before we
I mean, I think.
make sure he hasn't said anything to?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can do this and then we can, one of us can have a discussion with Rick and just make sure that he's happy with that and make sure he hasn't spoken with Adam, and if he has, we can
Make sure we
probably-
haven't committed,
Yeah.
because we did say, go for it. I
And
think
we
Jeff said.
Yeah.
should, well, we should talk to Town of Berkshire too.
Yeah,
Make
Yeah.
sure that we're gonna be able to use theirs.
So do we want to leave that at 5,000 and agree that, you know, does someone want to talk to Rick and someone want to talk to Berkshire before our next meeting?
I can talk to Rick. Would you like to talk to her? Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay.
So Gail, have we gone through all items in the budget?
I think we have, but it wouldn't hurt to just do a quick redo of
And,
the expenses anyway.
well, and did we go through things like the cemetery and that kind of stuff? Do we need to?
No, the cemetery does their own, and, you know, they do their own budgeting, because he gets donations, and he gets the town money. And did you get that library
I
budget?
did, I
Okay.
did. And that's kind of a question, why I was asking was I looked at the library line item, and like the library budget has gone from 50,000 to 65,000, so I was just kind of interested, like, okay, what is that? So I was just feeling like, for awareness pieces, at least we have some awareness of what these various line items are.
Yeah, the librarian they have now is a little more costly.
So,
The librarian that they have now gets all the benefits, healthcare, the Beamers, and she's paid a little more than previous ones, so.
I emailed Gail just to ask for it, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, what is that?
'Cause I think the previous librarians didn't have healthcare because they had their own, and the Beamers we didn't do.
Of course, I had it up here, now I can't find it. But, you sent that to me today, correct, Gail?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. But anyway, so I don't know how others feel if we want to, there's some other miscellaneous pieces of the budget, if, Gail said those are, or do we want to just quickly go through them, or, I don't want to belabor this any more than we need to, but,
I think we should go through them quickly.
Okay, well, that's the select board. 3,000 for advertising, because we're gonna do a lot of advertising.
so we've gone through these.
Yeah, but I
Right.
didn't know if you wanted to recap real quick.
Okay, yeah, we can, I
Make
actually,
sure we didn't miss something.
okay, that's cool, I actually have some questions as we do that, so.
Okay, and do we know why we had 2,500 in technology? Oh, for the laptop.
So, one thing that I was going to suggest there, though, was that, sorry, where are you? Where are we, Gail? So this is under select board,
Yeah.
because we had put 2,500, but the select board doesn't need a laptop. That could be the administrative assistant laptop that comes and does Zoom and stuff at the meetings, I'm assuming. I wouldn't think we would need 2 laptops.
Yeah, and I don't
Okay.
think, I don't know if we,
So what I was going to suggest there was that under select board technology, we knock that back. We originally put 2,500. We knock it back to 500 to cover a Zoom license and any other miscellaneous things.
Did you get an answer on the storage? Are we gonna have to pay for storage, or are we just gonna stream it and that's it?
I don't have a firm answer on that yet. I do know that the business plan is $200 a year. but the streaming, I don't have a firm answer on that. I haven't had time to,
Just,
and
I
that's
think
why,
that is gonna be what's gonna.
right, and that's why I was gonna suggest we have it a little bit higher. So that was my suggestion, is we bring technology back down to $200,
Up 200?
or $500, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And the question I had, select board advertising, is that for positions? Does that include elections?
No,
What?
that's just positions and RFPs and.
Notice of
Post vacancy.
vacancy, different,
Vacancy, yeah.
legal
Okay.
notices
Yeah,
that have to be in the paper for different
Okay.
things.
Okay. So with all the hiring we need to do, that probably still makes sense, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you put nothing in for legal fees. Is there, oh, you
We
put them down
left
below.
it zero, we put it down
Yeah.
below, yep. I mean, a question, I know I'm splitting hairs here, but even like select board supplies, what do we need for supplies? I mean, I was just kinda looking at that, like, what is this, like, the 2022 budget was 1,000, we made it 500, but like, what is the
Copy
select board?
paper, if you make,
Oh.
if, say, somebody's going to make copies for you guys at that office, then they would come out of your copier, not mine.
Right, but like, the
I
admin
know.
assistant, we have a copier and supplies too,
Sure.
so I was
Yeah.
just, it
Okay.
seemed like somewhat
What
redundant,
have they
like,
used for that before? When they buy a
I don't
vacuum
know
or
if
something
they
like that?
bought it.
You use that?
No, that's town hall
Yeah.
supplies.
I'm not trying to split
Well,
hairs, but it was
No,
like,
no,
I don't know
it's
what
$500
that was for.
where I'm like,
Trying
can
to
we
think
cut
what
that in
has
half to
been used for.
250? I mean,
I think
we spent
Where's
43.
town reports come out of?
AA, doesn't it?
I don't
what?
know. Where's the town report come out of?
Oh, it's a,
Oh,
it's
it
a,
has
it's.
its own line
It has
It has
its
its
own
own line item, okay.
Again,
But in
I-
postage, I don't.
but I would cut that in half.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, AA retirement, I guess I didn't see that one. I mean, we can put something in there. It depends on who we hire if they want to, because they don't have to be in Beamers. They can just do the regular retirement, which is 3%. But,
Well, and I
and there's a
think-
little bit in there because Karen and I have filled in and we have the IRA, so that's why that's
Right.
in there.
So I think we also have to talk about the salary component of that. If we go back to the statewide averages and some of the conversations we had, and I believe the admin assistant position is what? Is it 24 hours a week, roughly? Is that
16 to 20.
16 to 20?
And that also includes Casey's grant salary.
So, okay, so
But she
Casey's in
doesn't
there.
have a lot of
Well,
hours.
That's not in the 16 to 20. Casey would be
No,
more
that's-
hours.
Yeah, maybe
If she
15
did it.
every 2 weeks if that.
Right, but it would fall under this, it falls under this
Yeah,
line item.
yeah.
So I was going to suggest that budgeted amount be not 50,000, it's more like 25,000. If I do the math. You know, with the statewide,
How much is that an hour?
if I assumed $20 an hour, and I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but if you take 20 times 20 times 52 is 20,800. And there's some salary in there for Casey.
But we do have in the ad, it could be 18 to 25.
I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Record showed
We may
18,
wanna-
but it's set up to
25
25.
just cover.
Okay, so. I mean, that's still 26,000, so, you know, and I don't know how much Casey's would be, but, I mean, maybe we make that 30,000, but it's not 50.
Yeah, not
Right.
30,000. And the only reason that's 50 is because at the last town meeting, a handful of people wanted to add 30,000 to the
Right.
budget, so.
Should that be
Separate, I mean, we've got town administrator, but you're saying that's,
Also, the grant writer, can we?
yeah.
It's,
Yeah, we should change the title of that as well.
Oh,
Administrative assistant,
yeah, I see. Yeah, that was from when we had, somebody that thought they were a town administrator. Nobody recent. Okay. I'm gonna highlight that so I remember to change it.
And so you,
Is it a problem to, or is it a pain?
Does it mess everything up to add another line item in there on the grant? writing? I just. That's kind of why I'm asking, because I can let it go, Gail.
Well, or can we put /grant so that at least we,
So it's
like,
clear.
And then maybe next year we can work it in.
Both
If we,
people do both things, but that's okay.
yeah.
well,
Whatever you
which,
wanna do.
which makes it, I think to your point, it makes it even, administrative /grants.
Yeah.
And then it covers both and but it's clear.
Yeah, no, that's
Does
fine.
does that get to your concern, Kelly?
Yeah, except now I want to know what both people doing both of it means, but that's a conversation for another day.
Once we get through the budget.
Yeah, let's get the budget.
So, under AA technology, I think we agreed we needed a computer, and I think elsewhere we're putting $1,200 in budgetarily for new computers.
Yeah.
Is that, Kelly, Lane, are you good with that?
Okay.
Anything else on this one? Under AA?
Getting our new copier tomorrow.
Oh, cool. Now you get, whenever, I know at work, whenever we get a new copier, it's nice to have it, but it takes like a month to figure out how to use it.
Yeah.
Probably won't for you, but.
I don't know. Sometimes.
So,
Today.
again, based on our previous discussions and looking at average rates, and I looked at them, if you remember what we talked about, there was town clerk, there was town clerk /treasurer, there was treasurer. They all came out to be in a kind of a certain grouping. And if I took, and Karen, I think you said it's about 3 days a week?
No,
24
there are 3
hours.
days.
What's that?
24 hours.
24 hours.
21 hours?
Right.
3 times 7.
So,
Oh.
so if I took, I assume 24 hours, but,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because of,
if I took 24 hours and I took that average rate that we kind of talked about, that line item would be 33,000.
Yep.
For town clerk salary.
That's going off the statewide average.
Yeah, well, I would have to go back to it, Billy. There was the,
Oh, you got it right here.
right, there's a little bit of a, there was the small town, I've got it right here, I think.
Looks like 2819.
Well, right, so if I look at municipal clerk,
Oh, okay.
they range from, it goes almost $25 to $27. And so I was just using numbers about $26 an hour, it puts us in line with, somewhere in that range. And again, we're budgeting that, we gotta still talk it through and all that stuff, but that's the budgeted amount. That's my suggestion.
And that's where you get the 33 from? Is that right?
Yeah, assuming $24 an hour. I mean, it's rounding, obviously, but
Oh, yeah.
it's close.
Yep. So why don't we up that to 33 then?
Now, for the assistant town clerk salary, there was just no information on
no, there isn't.
who does it, how many
Phyllis.
hours, and
Phyllis does it for me. I base it on taking a couple of weeks off, some sick days. Can't remember what I did last year. Sorry. We did up it when I had my knee done a year ago. But
so
whoever I hire, like right now, I've got Phyllis who comes in, and if I need something done, Gail will come over and do something for my office if I need it. If she's not busy, she's my second.
So it sounds like the year you had your knee done, our expenditures were 3,300. Last year they were 1,370.
Yeah, we didn't use her very much.
So-
I mean, we didn't, but you gotta understand, last year I didn't take much time off either because it was an election year.
Right.
Between all the elections and the time you have to spend getting ready, sending stuff out, you don't take any time off from March to November. So
Right.
I don't think I took 2 weeks off.
So if we left that, given kind of the average of the 2 years is someone in the, if you take 3,300 and 1,300, you're what, 46. We've averaged over the last 2 years $2,300. If we left it at 32, that might.
Or you could just, if you think we used 2,300, you put it to that this year.
That's the average over the last 2 years.
Okay.
And there's no election this year.
No. Well, we don't know yet. School
Oh,
might
sure.
have a
Yeah,
big
fair. Yeah, okay.
problem. You
Yeah,
never
good
know.
point. Yeah, good point.
You wanna do 2,500?
Yeah. Do 2,500.
Okay. And then as we go down through here, we're leaving.
Change it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Is there anything else we want to change here?
Equipment went up, she got a new copier too, and they're all
Okay,
more
yeah.
expensive.
You can't keep the same copier after 5 years. They don't even make them, I guess.
Yeah, you have to lease them.
I have to lease it for 5 years, so I have to get a machine, and it's just, it increased. I didn't up that, Gail, was I supposed to? I don't, telephone, internet.
No, that should be
It's
fine, I
okay.
mean, it's probably gonna go up some, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Imagine it'll go up any more than
Well, I will
that.
tell you on the supplies, that would have been closer to $2,200 because I ordered some Mylars that I use in my office as sleeves for death certificates. And they come in at $300. They're not cheap. And it didn't get put on till this year's. So I would have spent around $2,000 in supplies. And I didn't adjust it for inflation.
So do you think that line on is
I think-
okay?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
So if we get down to treasurer tax collector, I was going to recommend based on, again, the numbers that I had that might not be perfect, that we increase that to 33,000 as well. And again, I think you said you're about the same amount of hours, three days a week, Gail?
Yeah, and then certain times of year more. Yeah.
Does that seem reasonable?
There you go,
And-
it's an
and,
extra
you
zero.
know,
Giving yourself a big
I
raise.
know, I'm just
Well,
like,
Are you retired at the end of this year?
I had 330,000, yeah.
What's that?
That's my favorite number,
What's your favorite?
Just adding zeros.
333,000.
I mean, these are just budget numbers, but I mean, I guess I would ask Gail, Karen, do you feel that these are reasonable, what we're talking about?
I think these are big increases. And I'm saying that because it's all happening all at once and it's going to
Understood.
impact our bottom line.
Agreed.
Very, very much. And you're gonna look at it and then you're gonna go, we might need to rethink a few things here.
Right. I think once we get through these numbers, I mean, one of the things I was looking at the other night was, okay, how much total have we added, you know, because we're cutting in some areas too, right? Obviously salaries is a big thing. And, you know, let's face it, the other part of this is we're putting a budget together for the voters to approve or deny.
Right.
You know, and at least I'm hopeful that we can say that we put good thought into it and we compared to other towns our size, statewide averages, so it's not just willy-nilly. But I hear you. I felt that when I went through it as well, Karen.
Yeah, I haven't added it up, so I'm just waiting to see what Gail says it is.
Okay, so I went down on technology. I didn't use that much last year. Some years you have more issues with your computer, and it's $35 an hour.
So that's a
Oh,
question.
Sorry.
What's that?
Or is it more than that?
For technology.
Oh, do we want to
Yeah.
go back up there?
Yeah, let's just see. Yeah, that, I didn't use this much.
Want to go down to
So let's
6?
take that down some.
Well, and I guess the question I have for either of you is in terms of computers.
Next
I mean-
year. I
Okay.
have 11-year-old computer, so next year I'll need a computer.
Yeah, I just recently got one.
Okay. So we feel we're good there. Okay.
Yeah, we have 2 printers, copiers in our thing, so if one should die,
Okay.
mine's
But
more
this
for
is a backup.
Okay.
my stuff. Okay. I don't really need anything in the office, but just in case something comes up, I guess. Rent went up 100, so that's why that's up. Training, I went down because I didn't use a lot there. I did already do 1 class, so. And supplies I went up because postage is going up and a lot of my budget is postage.
Okay.
So. Alright.
We good with the clerk and treasurer? Cool.
Okay, delinquent tax, pretty much went over that.
Right, and the delinquent tax is just, it's based on what's collected, right?
Yeah,
It's, we don't
wash
really set
anyway.
that, okay.
Yeah. Okay, listers.
A question I had, just because I don't know, is just when we get to listers' salary and that kind of thing, I mean, it looks like there's not, the budget has been 9,200, they only spent 6,000 the year before it was, so do we feel
So
that
you-
that's reasonable in terms of budgetary amounts?
So historically, Phyllis is the one that's in the office the most. She does all of the computer work, and Tim Quartz and Warren go around and they look at the different areas during appraisal time. So, and sometimes, you know, that doesn't take a long time, there's not that many. And so they don't take a salary, they're just paid hourly.
Right.
And they don't put in as much as Phyllis does, so they don't need as much for salaries. Though I will say we're gonna have to reappraise, we'll have to hire somebody, and Phyllis will be working more. But that, I don't think we're gonna be able to get to the reappraisal this year. There's so many towns that are, they're booking 2 and 3 years out. I heard that today. For Lister's office equipment we put up because the shares the copier with me. I don't know about her training. She does do several seminars a year. Very good, in, you know, for the town because she keeps right up with everything. And we share out supplies, so when, you know, when I order a case, sometimes I order a case and I just split it between zoning and listers and me. So, same thing with envelopes and stuff like that. It's hard to track if you're all in the same office using the same supplies, you know.
Does she split the telephone and internet?
No, she has her own telephone line and internet. Right? I think.
Well, we get one bill and I divide it evenly
Between
between
all
the
of
5.
us.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It's all the
we
same.
have the same
We all pay the
provider.
same.
But Gail does all the split out, and that's what it comes to.
So are we good with that? I mean, if I look at Lister's salary,
Maybe you could
2 years
drop
ago
us
it was 5,600, 5,700. This past year was 6,000. It seems like, I don't know that I would change it, I just,
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking is Warren's getting out of it this year?
Yeah,
Phyllis?
somebody else might run,
somebody-
somebody else gets appointed.
Somebody maybe in the office more with Phyllis,
Yeah.
because I mean, Phyllis at some point is probably gonna retire. And there's a lot to it, if she could get somebody else on the computer doing it, probably would be a good thing.
Yeah, get them trained.
So would we leave that where it is? Would we change it? Thoughts?
Seems like it's a bit high, but
Yeah, I think we could come down slightly.
Maybe make it
85?
8,000 or 8,500?
Which one?
I would think 8 would be
I would think
fine.
8 would be,
Karen? That's good. Okay. Auditor, that's the price she gave us, so, okay.
Can't change, that's the quote, right? So when we look at like the zoning, that was 4,100 a couple of years ago, 5,300 last year. We have a new zoning administrator, right? So, Mary Ellen, so I'm not saying that's good or bad, I just, maybe we leave that where it is.
I think it's okay.
I guess I don't see any reason to change any other pieces unless others do. We did put legal fees in there.
Yeah.
Are we comfortable with that one?
Yeah, I am.
I feel like we covered pretty thoroughly the public safety one at one of our meetings. I mean, the only question, I guess, I said that, but Orange County Sheriff was 15,800 this past year. We budgeted 12,500. The year before, we only spent 8,300, so.
Oh, you know what happens is they bill December and January, and I know this January was pretty high, so probably it got tacked on, but when the auditor does all her adjustments, it fixes it.
It'll fall on the right year. So leaving that at 12,500.
Yeah, I mean, that's their contract, so.
Okay. For another meeting is to invite them and have a conversation with us, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Erin doesn't work here full-time, and that's what she's using right now.
That's 3,700.
Yeah,
And the year before was 3,800.
yeah. I think that should come down.
So maybe we could bring that down to 4,000, 4,500, maybe
Yeah.
4,500. Just give us. A question I had about mowing and stuff. Those are town employees doing the mowing?
Rick's
Yes.
doing it.
Okay. So that wouldn't come out of,
No, because it's not, he's not doing highway, he's doing town hall mowing, and if we contract it out, the town, it comes out of the general fund for those properties.
right,
So he keeps track of the hours, and we, on his time card, I have a thing on the back where he keeps track of the mowing of the different areas. When he does a sewer, it gets done, it gets charged
Right.
to sewer, and the commons and all that area gets charged to the town hall. And then garage, he just goes in with his salary, so.
I guess the only question I had, and I may be not thinking about this correctly, but we budgeted Rick's full-time salary under highway. But now we're showing budgeted amounts for his time spent in all these other areas. Is that almost double? I understand when you break it out, but from a budgetary perspective, is it almost double counting it?
Right, like should that come out of his salary up at
Right, like
Out of
the
the
expenditure of Rick's time would come out of town hall, but budgetarily, we've just budgeted it in the town, the highway budget.
Right, so he was mowing in his 40-hour week, or was it on top of his 40-hour week?
He was
Depended,
mowing
I
on
think.
Thursdays. And I thought, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
no,
Thursdays,
no, he
or-
only got the 40 hours, because they didn't want him getting any overtime. The first 2 weeks he did because it was, we weren't sure.
What was it previously? Because this year, didn't things change, or this past year, didn't things change slightly? They cut back just because of cost of everything, but in the past, did he put 40 hours? I mean, because he didn't put the time in because he wasn't grading. But is he gonna need 40 hours to grade the roads and to do all the roadside mowing? Like,
Well, and I guess I'm thinking about, sorry if I interrupt.
I guess I feel like with the small crew we have, is we probably do have 40 hours a week of road work that should be getting done.
Right.
If he's doing the job that I expect done, like the roads being graded and such, that kind of got cut back a little this past year.
That's what I was wondering before we start changing these numbers, are we sure that Rick is gonna be mowing this summer, or are we gonna try to sub that out like we've done in the past? You know?
I think that's a good question. I guess I was thinking about it, whether it's Rick or someone we hire or whatever. But for your point of they're being subbed out, but if it is town employees doing it, the town employees' salaries
Right.
are already budgeted under highways. So
Yeah.
by showing it here, I guess my question is, Gail, is it kind of double counting it?
Well,
It is.
it is, but like Lena pointed out, if last year he didn't do a lot of things, this year he'll be doing those things, so it actually would be in addition to his 40 hours. So
But if we
if we budgeted for 40 hours in his regular time, we probably should leave it because,
I think we have to budget the road foreman position for 40 hours, and this should be an addition.
yeah. And the only reason it wasn't is because
He wasn't roadside mowing as much, and he wasn't grading, and,
Didn't we budget for 3 full-time employees though?
Yeah.
yeah.
So that would make up.
But are we gonna add this to their job description? Like, is that something we've decided?
So if you've got 120
I think we
hours
need the
worth of,
conversation.
if you've got 120 hours per week of road crew, and there's 8 hours of mowing, and again, I'm not saying it's Rick or whoever it is, I'm just saying that's 8 hours of mowing if he was mowing on Thursdays, or 6 hours, whatever it is. It doesn't seem like that's a lot extra. Because we budgeted for 3 full-time, one of our employees only works, I forget what they said, Paul's not full-time, right? So we've kind of covered the budget part, right?
For whoever's not.
For whoever would be on the road crew. I'm just,
I guess I'm trying to figure out if Rick's gonna have the time, because we still do have only a part-time, so that's still putting more hours on. So I guess if his wage is higher, it's not gonna be the same as maybe one of the other employees. I think,
my hope is that by the time we need to mow lawns, we've hired somebody on the road crew, but,
I would.
yeah, Rick would hope so too. So anyway, regardless of who mows, if we feel like we have the budget in the salary, I'm not saying we do, I'm just saying if we felt like we had it budgeted, then this would almost be double counting budgetarily these line items. Because it shows up at the Heath, in the rec field budget, it shows up here, it shows in the sewer plant, so.
If we're gonna have a town employee mowing.
Right.
I guess that's the thing that.
That's a good point.
I think we should
Figure out.
double check with Rick and just make sure that he feels 100% that without cutting back his duties to the road, that they will have the time, just to confirm. Because we also have to count, considering hauling sand, we have to do mutual aid for Verschier. So I just think it would be a conversation to clarify with Rick, just to make sure.
Well, and I agree with you, Lynn, and I guess to Billy's point, if it was, hey, we got plenty to do on the road crew, maybe we would end up contracting it out. And if we did, then these line items would be the budgetary pieces to pay the contract.
Right.
So maybe we're okay. Maybe I just led us down a path of a lot of discussion that wasn't.
To hire somebody, it's gonna cost a lot more than that
Yeah.
budget. It's gonna cost a lot more. But,
So do we, I'm sorry about that. I mean, maybe I just talked myself in a full circle, but maybe we just leave it. And we cross the bridge when we get to it in terms of who we have hired, and to your point, Lena, talking to Rick.
Yeah, I think we leave it temporarily and just touch base with Rick and make sure that that's
Kelly, if you're gonna be
what he's
talking,
thinking.
that was his mind.
Yeah, it was just.
I was gonna say that.
Do you want to add that to your
Add
conversation
that
with
to your
Rick?
list.
Sorry. That's done.
Because just to clarify, he does the town hall mowing,
right.
and then where else?
It goes under,
So-
it's not separated out in water sewer, it just goes under water sewer salary.
But there's, it's under the rec too, right? Rec
And then the rec mowing, yeah. Which,
we budgeted 2,000.
and they pay us, the rec department pays us for that.
Sorry, are we good with town hall? That was my fault for bringing this there. I think we talked through all of these previously.
Yep.
So solid waste. This is one where we're over the budget for 2022 on salaries. And I think we have an assistant there
Yeah.
now that we didn't before. Right, so I mean, I was gonna suggest that maybe we increase that to say 12,000, and, it gives us some, we need to look at rates there as well. Is that, I'm just throwing things out, if you guys think I'm nuts, just holler.
No, I was going down the rabbit hole because I think our highway employees did it sometimes last year.
Yeah.
So I was going down where we just came from,
Oh.
so you need to go back there.
Sorry, how much did we go over last year? Let's see.
From what we collected. So it's 93.
Yeah, we had a few lingering Myers bills that came in after, but, so it might be up to 100.
So the actual, the income last year was 83,900, and that was 93,000 something. We had about I seem to recall, somewhere between a $9,000 and $10,000 deficit that we're gonna have to address at some point.
I have been doing some research regarding possibilities.
Oh, cool. When we get through the budget, I'm very interested to hear what that is. I think we're gonna need some time as a group to just start building, forecasting out our agendas.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Are we good with solid waste?
Yeah.
Could, real quick, what is OCC rental? And I think you told us, so I won't.
Yeah, that's, we leased the containers,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
But there was no budget previously for it?
No, because it was under something else.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, that,
yeah.
thank you. committee, any questions or?
They pretty much do their own budget. We have a fund, we get money from
So
skating.
we get income to offset this from the rec committee?
Just the mowing, there was some agreement that we pay the electric for the skating rink. So that is our expense there. But the rest of it is, all their stuff. They pay us back for all the mowing.
We've got rec mowing salary here, because this is what we pay the person up above on.
Yeah.
But we have that as an expense up above as well,
Where?
What's
didn't we?
So I couldn't actually hear you.
Say that again?
Never mind, this is rec mowing salary, the other one was town halls. Never mind, thank you, okay.
But it's the same
Yep,
conversation.
same, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually that's good.
I think that's good. Is everybody good with that?
Alright. We only have backhoe left to pay off that, so that's down. Interest. We're probably gonna have to do a line of credit this year, so we have a little bit of interest.
I did have a question, and Karen, you may have answered this about elections.
Mhm.
But this has gone up
Where are we? Which line?
under elections 243. So it went from 3,000 to
Right,
4,300.
and this year we don't have. Sorry, I didn't even bring anything. So it costs about 700 to 800 for an Australian ballot vote with the people we need. We have one on town meeting. We had one in January, so there's $1,600. That budget reflects last year when we had a general election, a primary, a special town meeting vote, two of them actually, I think. One last December, no, that was the year before. So we had one in January. No, it's looking at last year. So we had a special meeting, we had a regular town meeting, we had 3 elections besides that. I think that's it, but you have to account for the fact that the BCA upped the pay to $15 an hour at one of their meetings after they had made their budget out, and they thought they'd have enough, and then we had a special meeting.
So that even with there not being a general election, that $4,300 is
I wouldn't put that in there this year.
okay. All right. Well, that was my question.
No.
What do you recommend?
Well, we've spent 8 at least on one, and we've got town meeting.
And there
So
may be a
there's
school.
16.
If
No,
there-
school doesn't come out of here.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
Nope, they have their own budget.
Maybe 3,000.
We build that, Gail pays us, and then I bill the school, and she gets
Oh,
reimbursed
got it. Okay.
for that money.
So if we assume,
3,000, then it covers the 2 we know and one for
right?
just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's what,
Nemrick,
200.
we purchased some new modules for treasurer, and they agreed to let us pay a certain amount each year. So that's included in this, and then.
And that's your accounting system, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also we pay a fee every year, but if you go over a certain amount of time, they charge you, or depending on what you ask them with help for, sometimes they'll charge you, so.
Okay.
Let's see.
Is there anything else here, Gail, that you think we should discuss, or any questions that anybody has on the general fund?
is the county tax finalized now?
Yes, I think I got that price from something. I wouldn't have put an odd amount. Oh, I mean, put 34,000. Yeah, I think we got something with it on it, didn't we? Can't remember. Thought we did.
I check on it just to make sure.
Yeah. Town report. Dues, that price, that's what they're charging us for sure. Streetlights, I just put up a little because the electric.
I think, unless anybody else, I mean, I think we've gone through this part at least, and we're good, unless you have anything, Gail? Is that?
No. I won't do it.
And then just appropriations, I did just want to note, because just looking at this, and as Gail mentioned, that, you know, we get this cemetery commission.
Okay, appropriations went up.
I'm sorry?
Appropriations went up.
Well, petition request.
Petitioned appropriations went up.
Yeah, really, did that.
Yeah,
That estimate down from that
yeah,
estimate.
yeah. Okay, so I added all of them that gave us a petition in there without the spotlight. And it's 14,240.
Okay.
And you guys need to talk about the spotlight.
Right, so that was the email that you forwarded today.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at it or not. I believe the Spotlight has requested 2,000, is that correct?
Yeah.
And my reading of it is that
Right there.
that it does pass the straight face of being put on the warning for the voters to decide, although it doesn't, I've forgotten the terminology now,
I
but
thought it meant the second requirement that was passed forth, not the social services requirement, but the second one of public
I've got it right here.
something or other.
I knew I'd forget, so
That it would need to go on the warning under the second
Right.
requirement.
Okay. It would get its own article number?
If we decided, let me call it up. That was how I interpreted what you said.
So what's highlighted in what came from VLCT, its annual meeting of town shall vote such sums of money as it deems necessary for the interest of its inhabitants and for the prosecution and defense of the common rights. Therefore, the board should consider 1, if the requester is providing social services to the town residents, or 2, if the requester serves a public purpose. And if, you know, it isn't a social service, that's obvious. If we, the board, feels that it serves a public purpose, then we could agree to put it on the warning for the $2,000 with the other appropriations.
But not with them, as an article. As,
That's what I want to know. Do you want it as an article?
I think that's what it falls under based on what Vermont Leagues of City and Towns said. That's my interpretation of
And
it.
it would be the wisest to honor the petition to appropriation and warn it as a separate article. Okay, so we could do it either way, but the advice from the league is to warn it as a separate article. So I guess I would suggest that we put it on the warning, the 2,000 for the spotlight, under a separate article, not with all the other appropriations.
Okay.
How do others feel?
I agree with that.
Sure.
do they need a motion to do that?
I don't believe so. It's a
I'm sorry?
petition. I don't believe so, because it's a petition.
I'm sorry, what was the
Motion to
question?
put it on the warning.
Do you need a motion to put it on the warning? You know, what you do is you make your warning and then you approve it at the end.
Right.
I don't think you need a motion on that.
Okay.
So if that was the case under petition request, we'd up that budget to 16,240?
No,
No, you said separate article.
Right, but just budgetarily,
Oh, budgetarily.
we would just add the 2,000 as 16,240.
no,
Just
it would
one.
have to be.
No.
It wouldn't be appropriation, it would have to be another thing that it would just be somewhere that they voted on it.
Understood, but from a budgetary perspective.
Like what line it goes on?
From a budgetary perspective, it is a petitioned request. We're
Yes.
just warning it separately.
Yes.
Oh, I see. It's put
Yes.
on that
So
one.
we
Right.
would just budgetarily, we could add
Right.
that 16,240.
Okay.
And again, if I'm,
No, I agree with
Okay.
that.
The only other thing that I think is just, and we already kind of talked about it, but it's just for us to be aware that the library fund has gone from 50,000 to 65,000, and a lot of that is, as Gail mentioned, was the salary increase there as well. Does that take care of the general fund stuff, Gail, that you have? So a question I have, Gail, is you have enough to kind of finalize the budget now, and I'm assuming at our meeting next week, we would come back and just agree on setting tax rate and that kind of stuff?
You don't set the tax rate, but you.
Or not setting the tax rate, but
We would
understanding.
agree on the amount we would put on the warning.
To be warned by taxes,
Yeah.
to be raised by taxes. Yeah.
So quickly, can we figure out what the percentage up is?
So it's a total of $28,000, roughly.
Okay. What line?
Would be about a 4% increase, is that right? Sorry, I'll be quiet, yeah.
Oh, no, you go ahead and do that part, I'm doing something else.
So if I take 715,414 minus the previous budget of 687,873, there's a difference that we're raising with the general government budget by 27,541. And if I divide that by 687,873, that's a 4.0% increase. If I just did that right.
I'm letting you go.
Somebody check me on this. If I take 715,414
Yeah,
minus the previous budget,
uh-huh,
which is a difference of 27,000, if I divide it by the previous budget, that's the percent increase,
Yeah.
correct?
yeah.
So it's 4%, which that's nothing to sneeze at, but I honestly thought it was going to be more than that.
Yeah, it's not the highway.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be higher.
Well, it's less than I thought it was gonna be.
Okay, so the amount to be raised by taxes will be 1,136,395, which is definitely up from last year. 1,136,395.
And I don't want to belabor this, and you guys can tell me to. I had a couple of quick questions on the highway side. If it's okay with folks, if we just go there real quick, and if anybody else has questions, that's fine as well. Now I gotta remember what they are, sorry. Oh, so on heating fuel, and again, I looked and I know heating prices, but we spent $4,100 last year, our budget was $4,500, but we budgeted 5,000.
Yeah.
And I was just looking, honestly, hey, where there may be there, if we look at the last couple of years, where might there be savings, and I was just looking at that saying, we spent $4,100 last year, we're already into this year, January hasn't been really high from a heating, and we're almost through the,
I think we increased it due to the cost, but are we locked in on a fuel price there?
No, they won't lock in on oil.
and I was just looking at it, it's $900 more than what we spent last year, which is a pretty sizable percentage if we go up. And I'm okay leaving it as it was just an observation when I.
Oh, wait a minute, heating fuel, I'm thinking diesel. We are locked in.
We're locked in.
Must be.
Yeah.
Wasn't it 210 you said
Yeah,
last week?
I forget what it was, but yeah, we're locked in.
So I just felt that might be a place we could cut back a little, but
I think if we are locked in, we could probably go back to the 45, but I wouldn't want to go much past that just for.
The other thing that, and we don't have to revisit this because we've already spent a lot of time talking about it, but under equipment repairs, we talked a lot about the 2012 that we don't have anymore.
Right.
That the last 2 years has been a third of our overall budget in that line item, and I realize things are going up, but if you took that out, our average, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, I want to say it was, if you took, yeah, I can't even speak now. If you took the equipment repair out for that piece of equipment, we were only averaging, we would be somewhere in the, I think, $42,000 a year. And we elected to put it at 45,000, and I'm hoping I got those numbers right. I'm okay if we leave it at 50,000, but just knowing that we're raising things a lot, I was questioning whether or not we felt comfortable making that 45,000. And if we don't want to change it, that's okay. It's just when I went back and thought about it. I don't have a strong preference, I just wanted to highlight it.
I think it's a good point.
Leave it like it is?
I think it's a good point you're making.
Oh, okay.
What do you recommend we drop it to?
I was just thinking, could we make it 50,000? 45,000, sorry, yeah. Could we not change it? And all that just to say don't change it.
I wish we had sort of it separated to know what we've put into each piece of equipment, like how much we've put in to repair the grader, how much
Well, we do,
Oh.
it's right there.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
Yeah.
Well-
We just don't
But like,
budget
what
for
year, we don't separate the budget, okay, for each, but like,
Because that would be almost impossible.
what year is our grader? That's fairly new, right? I mean, as a piece of equipment that size goes, they tend to last. I know the loader's like 22 years old or something.
Yeah.
And if I'm dragging us down a path that everybody was comfortable with where we are, that,
In truck 6, that's the
New one.
new one.
So that means is truck 4 the one that Paul drives, and then truck 5 is the one that Rick drives? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Truck 5 is Rick, Paul is 4. But this leaf blower, this was for the purchase of the leaf blower, that wasn't repairs, so that wouldn't be there, that
All right.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's helpful.
yeah, and I mean, I remember Rick saying, there's no crystal ball to this, and
No.
I would agree with that, I mean.
Wow, all right.
And the grader was quite low, but it had minimal use.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can come back to some.
Right.
For sure.
Based on the leaf blower.
Yeah,
and that.
exactly.
Why don't we bring that down to 45 then?
Okay.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah, especially with the
Okay,
leaf blower.
Did you still have heat oil for the town hall?
No, we took that out
You
because of
did
the
take that
pellets,
out?
yeah, because
Okay.
we have
Yeah,
two
we
full tanks.
swapped those two around.
No,
But by the time you added in the pellets and the maintenance cost of the furnaces, I think it was almost a wash to what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one question on diesel fuel. And we'd gone from 40,000 to 80,000, so double, and we spent 70,000 last year, which I get. A question I had was, whatever portion, like the fire department pays us,
Yeah.
do we increase that revenue? I think it was 6,000 budgeted last year, 6,000 this year, but, you know, should that revenue be double? Or we adjust this line item somewhat? Because part of this is our expenditure, but the fire department pays us back,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did they pay the going rate at that time, or how
What
does
I
that-
do is I take for that, the ambulance gives me every quarter.
Yeah,
I take an average of the price, and there's also, there's fuel charge and stuff, a tax there, so they gave me a percentage of how to figure that, so I figure that, and I charge them whatever the average rate is. So,
So that's just a huge increase. I'm not saying it shouldn't be a huge increase. It was just one of those things. It's like, I'm kind of hopeful that maybe
I mean, they have been.
diesel has topped out and might go the other direction. We don't know. I get that.
I hope so.
Right. Well, and if that's the case, should we consider backing that back down? And I still have the question about, should we be increasing the reimbursement part in terms of the amount to be raised by taxes?
Right.
I would,
Did we actually stop providing services to save on fuel? Do we know that that actually happened?
What do you mean, like grading and stuff?
Yeah.
Yes. 'Cause-
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he definitely didn't grade.
Okay.
He graded maybe once, I think, or maybe twice, I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe didn't
But
even
the
hit
biggest-
everything.
The
so.
biggest thing that jacked all this up is the mud season. There's a lot of fuel, a lot of gravel.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about though, if services were really backed off on, then that 70,000, whatever, from last year was not going to be high enough if we intended to provide 100% of services this year.
Right.
That's a good point. Full mowing.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
I mean, I think we all hope the prices are gonna go down, but we can't say that for sure, so I don't think we can go down on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I just, it was one of those things that just kind of stuck out to me, so I just wanted to,
Yeah, we're just hopeful.
yeah, I was hoping.
Like,
Right.
on top of everything, like we,
That was the worst.
Those were my only questions on the highway, but I just wanted to highlight them just to make sure. Sorry, Gail, you were in the middle of doing some calculations and I made you go back.
No.
In a good way.
Now where did I move? Gotta go back.
did you,
Oh, that's it. Okay, so the new number is 1,130,895.
Can't take this month. 1,038,890.
What was last year's amount? We had a raise.
That was just,
Well, raised 922,603.
so that takes out our income.
That's amount to be raised by taxes, it's not the total income.
Right, the income is taken off.
So, gone up 200,000.
It is? Oh,
Yeah.
you had the number, okay.
Oh, yeah, Mary Ann gave.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I did it for, it went up 213,792, but that was the first number. I'd have to redo it with the second number. But it's 200,000 more, about.
Sorry.
Yeah. And actually, we added 30,000 to that, so we added the administrator. So actually, it's,
Oh, it was more than 922?
yeah, 178,000.
178,000 to be raised by taxes.
No, that's, oh, more
Additional to be raised by
Right.
from last year.
We don't have to do it tonight, but at some
Yeah.
point I want to understand from you where, I just want to make sure I understand how that, we get to that.
Yep.
We don't have to, but basically that's taking the general fund and the highway fund budgets
Yep.
and then subtracting out the anticipated income
Revenues, yeah.
revenues not from property taxes.
Right.
Okay.
And then what we do is we'll go back, once we figure that, if we bring this amount up and we put it into the property tax line, then that zeroes out our final line.
Right, right. So am I correct to say that the revenue we anticipate not from taxes total right now is 207,685? Is it from, in the spreadsheet here, if I'm looking at your
What was it, you said?
207,685?
And what is that?
So that's, like, this is one version of the budget you sent, I'm not sure, but, like, that's just taken everything, all the revenue categories, and you've got a total revenue line item in your spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We should use your spreadsheet, because mine, I'm sure, is outdated. So just looking at total revenues before property taxes.
Yeah, 207,685.
What am I seeing that? What am I? Oh, okay. So that's non-tax revenue, right?
Right.
Okay.
Why is it so much less than last year? Because you put the ARPA money in there last year? Last year it was 460, 400.
Yeah, we might have had the ARPA money in there, expected income. What we have there.
So what do you need from us at this point, Gail? I mean, do you need to kind of go back and just total all this up and make sure and come back at our next meeting, we'll say, okay,
Yeah, does that
Okay.
give us enough time?
Yeah,
Okay.
31st, yeah.
would it be possible, would it be possible for you to have for us just like, what is that impact on, you know, and I don't know how others feel, like, but I'd be interested in, okay, this budget is raised, what is that impact on a $150,000 home, a $250,000 home, and a 300, like, just to understand, like, what is the impact that this budget, I would like to understand that, I don't know how others feel. Is
Yeah, I
that,
mean-
is that easy enough to do, or
Yeah, I can,
roughly?
Yeah, I can
Not
figure.
like,
yeah, I mean, it's
To the penny.
never gonna be accurate because, you know, well,
we haven't set the tax rate and everything, right? But just to be like, on a $150,000 home, this is an increase of
Yeah.
$120 a year, or whatever, would that be possible to
yeah.
just have those rough numbers?
I can do something like that.
I know it'd be helpful for me to be like, hey, we finalized the budget and this is,
Yep, just don't ask me to do it right now.
no. Is there anything else budgetarily?
I don't think so. I mean, if anybody, well, if you want, you know, if you have time, you can just maybe go through and check the formulas to see if they seem right to you.
If you don't
Because
mind.
LeVar would do that, you know, we'd have two or three people looking at it, because I don't want to be responsible for the whole thing, because I make mistakes, you know.
I don't mind doing it unless somebody else wants to. If you want to send me the last,
I mean-
like this version of the budget,
Yeah,
email it to
yeah.
me.
I mean, any of you could do it.
Right.
I'll send it to you all,
Right.
and then, just that way to make sure, because like last year I noticed that,
You're asking me to check what was in an Excel spreadsheet.
all you gotta do is just, you could just add up the things to make sure. But, because I noticed last year, when I did it in the budget, it was off $1. I'm like, that's crazy, why is it off? But what happened is, when I, changed the columns to be no decimal points, that little bit of, made a difference, so this year I just put in whole numbers, so.
I'm happy to, if you email it to me, to look at it before next week.
And I went through for, typos and stuff, but still you can check for that too, because we've had those.
And I'm assuming as a board, we'll want to know, be able to say, it's up this much and we increased the highway budget by $40,000 for diesel. We increased overall salary, whatever the increases are, so we can describe it. Yeah. Right. Do we have to have a public information meeting before town meeting? We do, right? Okay, so that's something we bring to it.
Right. For sure.
Are there any other items on budget?
No. I mean, I did look up some of these funds. I do have the totals for them all, and there are two funds that we can use for like the commons and playground, and the rest of them are just pretty self-explanatory, but if anybody wanted to see the totals.
Yeah, I'd be
I
interested.
don't know that I can have it floating around. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, so.
I'd be interested in seeing it for sure. Can I ask I'll let you guys finish because I got a question I want to make. Go ahead, I'm not trying to rush you. So, this is the budget that we're asking for at town meeting.
Yep.
We set the tax rate
In July usually,
in July.
because that's when I get the school tax rate.
I bring that up because of the conversation around ARPA funds. And that I believe that there's eligibility, the ARPA funds, I don't know this factually, there's obviously some work we need to do, but that some of the ARPA funds, if we chose, could be used to offset operating budget stuff. And unless somebody knows elsewise, that's what I've kind of read. And again, this isn't cast in stone, but let's say we assume that. I asked the question about setting the tax rate because this is the budget that we would vote in. We've got to come back to the ARPA funds, but if we came back to the ARPA funds and we said, hey, maybe whatever that number is of the increase, it's a $200,000 increase, maybe we want to look at a portion of our ARPA funds helping offset operating budget. And I'm not saying we're deciding that, I'm just saying that's a potential option that we have. And we could make that decision before we set the tax rate. Look, I'm just hypothetical as we said, you know what, we want to use $100,000 of ARPA funds to offset increase in operating costs, just to be able to keep taxes down or something like that. That's something we could do before we had to set the tax rate. Is that?
Yeah, I don't know if we can do it that way. I think it would, I'm not sure. We'd have to
Okay.
find out, but there's also the option, I have to check with the accountant, but with the money, all the extra delinquent tax money we got, I don't know if we can put that in as carryover, so I'm gonna find out.
Okay.
I'll call him tomorrow.
Okay, so
I
that
just
may
thought
be
of
something
that.
to talk about next week, because if there's
Yeah.
additional
I mean,
delinquent
if I
taxes.
find out that we can put that in, I'll put that in and total it all and have it all ready.
It would reduce the amount that we
Right.
need
that
to
we
raise
need.
taxes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so. I mean, that wouldn't be anything you'd have to decide, it's either there or it's not, so.
Yeah, I threw the ARPA thing out. I don't know if we could or couldn't, but
Yeah,
it seemed like that may be something we might want to consider.
Yeah.
Any other items on budget?
No, not for me.
Anything from anybody on budget, or are we good with that when we wanna move on?
I think we're good.
So,
We're moving to notes.
So, do we wanna move on to our new, this is awful. I'm not used to these yet, so I'm like, I looked at Lena, and I'm like, I can't see her. I couldn't tell if you were nodding or not. Do we wanna move on to our agenda items additions? And the first one was the municipal roads general permit, I think?
Yeah. I just need a signature because it's due tomorrow, so.
Okay, and can you just
It
give us a little bit so that we all understand what,
It just allows us to get funding, right, Karen? Or Mary Ann?
it's a state, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a state paper that you do every single year.
Yeah, and it just, as long as we, because we have to do the updates to the roads every year, we have to be in compliance, and we have to update the website now for them, so.
and this allows the money that comes in under income, correct? There's like,
Yeah, like the grants and aid, or
right, okay. Okay.
just something we have to sign every year.
So we just have to sign, and it's basically signing saying we're in compliance?
Yep,
And just
well, I
one-
mean, just, yeah.
And only one of us needs to sign?
Yep, and it was Jeff last year, but
Well, can I just cross Jeff's name off and put
yeah.
select board vice
I think
chair?
that'd
Is
be
that
all
right?
right.
Motion for
The
that?
last select board always do. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that is a question. We probably need a
Cover
motion.
yourself, always just cover it.
Yeah,
And it should state if there's money attached to it.
Yeah, we
yeah,
have to.
that's a good point, thank you.
It's
I got ahead of myself.
okay. It's,
Yeah, it should be, is there a fee?
Do you folks wanna see this? Okay. Sorry, I took too much time on budget, and I was trying to
Yeah.
make up.
okay, if we do, it's $640 if we do it before tomorrow, so.
Is it written in your orders?
No. I'm gonna see if I can pay it. Yes, I can't.
How much
Forgot
is it
about that.
after?
What?
How much is it after tomorrow?
It's 600. Oh, if it's after tomorrow, based on your population
Oh,
and road miles.
So I believe what that is we need to, that's basically a compliance certificate that we're meeting the intent of the municipal roads general permit so that it'll free up funding that comes to us.
you can make a motion to add it to your orders.
Okay,
Because we have to come back to the order, so that's a good point.
yeah, okay.
So, but first, how do folks feel about that, and do we have a motion?
A motion to add it to the orders or a motion to
To sign it.
sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion for Kevin to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Notice of intent, there you go. I was trying to think of what it was called.
We also had orders and we passed them over, and while we're right on this, do we wanna, is there a motion on the orders?
To add the 600.
I make a motion to add $630 to, $640 to the orders to, is it a filing fee? Is that what it's called?
Application fee.
Application fee for A&R.
Yeah.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor? And is there a motion on the overall orders?
make a motion to approve overall orders as presented? Does that work?
And then whoever wants to sign that general.
Wait a minute, does this goes under, where's my budget?
I'll second that.
So it's been motion and second to approve the orders. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the orders? Next on the agenda was town meeting schedule and warning. Karen.
Hi. So I just did a timeline. Marianne had hers visual and mine's written out. Okay. So 1/26, 2023 is the first day to post a warning. 1/30 is the last, January 30th is the last day for consent of candidate forms and petitions, so please get those into me if you're running. 1/31, the select board should sign their warning and sign the, and set your date for your info meeting, so, and approve your budget. February 5th is the last day we can post the warning legally. All printer, Marianne would like all materials to printers by the 1st, but we have till the 6th, right, Marianne?
Right, let's do the 3rd. Let's do the
Okay.
3rd, Friday, because
Okay.
we're not gonna do anything over the weekend.
3rd. Thank you,
But the
Marianne.
6th will be in case, a pickup
Right.
day.
Then we have another meeting on select board meeting. We should send the info meeting ad to the newspaper on 2/21, so it comes out on 2/24. And 2/25 is the last day we have to send out the town report.
No, we're gonna send it the 21st.
The
Okay,
21st.
you're right.
It
It would
is,
be the
but-
last day to mail the books, but
Right.
we're gonna put
We're
it
gonna
in the,
shoot for the 21st.
that's right, it's gonna be
Okay.
delivered the 20th.
Okay, sample ballots are posted the 25th. And you must hold an informational meeting 10 days before your, somewhere within 10 days before March 7th. So, and Marianne had suggested using
Thursday the 2nd, but
Thursday the 2nd.
could do Tuesday the 28th. Any day that week would be okay.
Right, so.
I think it was,
And
a-
if for some reason we do not get our warning into our book and it's not distributed timely, the last day to do that would be on 3/2.
yeah, but we're gonna get it in the book.
I know.
Right, so we basically need to approve a warning at our next meeting.
That's right.
Yes, your
That's
budget,
right.
your warning, and
Everything.
pick your info date, so
Yeah.
we can get all this in motion,
Yeah,
okay? And I would suggest you guys have a select board meeting prep for town meeting day.
what do you mean select board meeting prep?
I think they should have a basic idea of what they're going to say
Oh, yeah, okay, so at
at
a,
town meeting.
at like a 21st? Oh, you're, okay, you're saying
You know,
they
before they
schedule
get to
it in.
town meeting.
Yeah,
I think there
good
have
idea.
been other boards that have done it, but not recently.
Have done,
Have gotten together, maybe 2 at a time, so they don't have to warn a meeting, but,
oh,
and say, I'm gonna do this part of, you know, the budget, I'll talk about this part of the budget, I'll talk about that part of the budget, this guy's gonna do roads, this guy's gonna take, or, because Jeff's really gonna be busy chairing the meeting as moderator. Because we do not have a moderator.
unless one gets elected, I mean.
No, it's not done from the floor, it's an Australian ballot vote, so
Okay,
the
there you
select
go.
board chair moderates this meeting.
Okay,
moderates the
Town meeting,
public hearing?
town
Town
meeting
meeting.
and the public hearing.
probably that too.
If
Really?
there is no moderator, which Dixon resigned,
Right,
you gotta
so,
have somebody up there directing.
but we can't elect one from the floor.
No,
Missed that part.
I let Jeff know early, I'm sorry, I should have included you, but I told him there is no moderator because Dixon resigned, and that would have to be his job as select board chair.
We should have had it as part of our special election then, right?
I
Well, it's-
don't know if we could have done that or not, to tell you
Okay.
the truth, but,
Okay.
yes, Kelly?
I'm going back to the prep meeting. And just one, I'm going back to thinking about the prep meeting. I
Yeah.
agree that there needs to be a meeting. And I guess I'm just wondering if we can think about that in the future. But I'm just thinking, like, will we be doing a PowerPoint? What will we be doing? No. Okay.
Usually you just stand up and you talk about your part of the budget.
Okay.
That's what they've done, right?
So this is,
Other boards have done a PowerPoint, hasn't really gone over that well.
There'll be just questions, Q&A, public
Yeah,
will ask questions.
Pretty much.
this is an interesting topic because this fits into what the agenda is for the actual, or what the warning is for the town meeting. The warning for town meeting includes the Australian ballot items.
Yes, it does.
And what portion of the meeting where we're meeting in person?
So,
I'm a little bit
Okay.
confused. Maybe others
This
are
is
clear
how
on
the
that. I'm a little bit confused.
this is how your hybrid meeting works. Everybody, we have a warning, and the front part is everybody's elected offices. That is an Australian ballot vote. People will come in, we're gonna have it set up just like a vote. And people are gonna get checked off and vote that way. But we're also gonna have 2 people at the door checking people off for whatever time you decide you want your warned meeting at. Right now, I have it typed in as 9. We've done 10 o'clock before. The only reason I would suggest 10 o'clock is I got a lot going on at 9 to get things started and running for the Australian ballot, and I still have to take your minutes for the floor. So that's why I would suggest starting that at 10.
And the only article for the in-person town meeting is the budget.
Yes, no, let's see.
But there'll be more than one
There will be
article.
the spotlight article.
Okay, right, and
Okay,
the
you're-
appropriations, okay,
Right,
sure.
and then the second part of your hybrid is appropriations. We list them all so people know what they are,
Right.
but they're in your budget. Okay, there's the article where the voters shall approve total general expenditure funds of, this by receipts and this by taxes. We have an article where you vote to place the bills in your treasurer's hands. And then we have the article that establishes the due date and
Okay.
percent and penalty. And that's all right now we have on it. So
Okay.
I suggest take a look at this and see if there's anything else you might want to add to this, because next week is when you're probably going to be signing it. And I will retype it and send it out to you with the spotlight article in it.
So,
Yeah, but
What about that one planet? Was that ever-
it's not, they didn't get the petition. I'll talk about that when we
But that's all I have for town meeting.
do the town report.
So you're going to have to pick a time.
so for next week, we have to agree on when our informational meeting will be.
Yeah, you can do that tonight if you want.
Okay. If folks are comfortable, I'm comfortable doing that if we want to. It needs to be 10 days,
Within the 10 days
Within-
before the town meeting.
Yeah,
and town meeting is,
the 7th.
So it needs to be between the 25th and the 6th. The 25th of February and the 6th of March. Basically the week before, sometime the week before that Tuesday.
so we will have, our meetings are the first and third Tuesdays, correct?
Yep.
So would we want to, do we want to stay with the Tuesday theme and just we'll have a board meeting on the 7th and 21st, and that following week we have to have a meeting. The question is, do we want to just follow the Tuesday theme, or do we want to pick a different date?
do it on the 28th.
Is that what you're talking?
Yeah, now Mary Ann, you've thrown out another date as well. Was there a reason for that? Or?
No, just last year they had it on a Thursday, it doesn't matter, they had
Okay.
one Tuesday and Thursday, it doesn't matter. I mean,
Okay.
there's no legal, I just made something to draft something.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Okay.
I'd say Tuesday the 28th.
Are people gonna have their books in time?
I hope to hell they will, but I don't know, I can't, you know.
Well, if they go out on the 25th late, because that's the last day they can go out.
The post office doesn't
They-
guarantee
you know.
it, but they're gonna go
I
out
see.
the 21st. They could arrive, I think they're gonna arrive the 22nd or the 23rd in most houses in Chelsea.
Okay. Just,
Is that gonna give people enough time
right,
to
to
be
read
ready
through them.
by the 28th? I'm not sure that it will,
That's
Well,
why we
that's-
suggested the 2nd.
yeah.
I see. Okay.
I was gonna think even further, but
Or, I mean, is there any reason we couldn't do it Monday the 6th?
Because the fire department meets.
Oh, the Prudential Committee?
No, the fire department
Yeah, they're, yeah,
has their drills.
yeah, okay, gotcha.
That's why we never pick Monday.
Got it. Well, there's a Prudential Committee meeting that night too.
Just
So
saying.
is there a preference on what night? Sounds like the 28th or the 2nd?
Yeah. I mean, I think to give a little more time, probably the 2nd.
Okay.
Let's do that.
So the informational meeting, we don't need a motion for that.
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Is there anything else on town meeting or the warning that we need to talk about tonight?
No, I'm just gonna have to give you a revised draft to look at
Okay,
and sign next week.
okay. So on the agenda
So-
next week, we need to have
Town warning,
approve warning,
approved budget,
approve warning, approve budget, yep,
I think that's it.
okay.
If they want to make changes, I wonder, okay, well, hopefully they
Okay.
won't. I mean, we could have it drafted.
Yeah,
Could we change it on that very day? I mean,
What?
there's no, okay, it's
yeah, I
okay.
have a
Hopefully
Word
they won't.
document, I can just change whatever
Retype
we
it.
need,
There you
type
go.
it and print it in my office.
Perfect, that's good.
can we just put time for the town meeting on the 7th now? Can we choose
Oh, that's a
that?
good
Then
idea.
we can just,
Yeah, and actually on the public information meeting, would we do that also at 6:30, because that's when we
I
normally
think
meet?
that's probably a good time.
Okay.
That makes sense.
yeah.
Okay, so,
So what'd you say, the second?
And so for town meeting, because it's a limited warning,
yeah,
is there a recommendation on what time we would start?
I would say based on what Karen just presented for information, I'd say 10.
Yeah.
I know people are gonna know why aren't we starting at 9, but it's, like, logistically, it's just, it's gonna be a few minutes before I'm ready.
And it seems like it's a pretty limited agenda in
They can
terms
go
of.
get a coffee and come back. But just to be on the safe side, maybe make a motion about your info meeting, so that way if it's in the paper, it's select board.
Okay, is there a motion on the date and time for the public information meeting?
I make a motion that we have our informational meeting March 2nd at 6:30
Is there
I
a second?
second it.
I think
In the
a
town
second.
hall.
in town hall.
Yeah. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion on setting town meeting date, time, and location?
You won't have to do that. That you can do when you do the
Okay, all right, okay,
the warning,
got it, okay.
okay? Moving to March 2nd, 16th. Elena, you seconded that, right?
Yes. Is there anything else on town meeting and warning?
No.
Town report, Mary Ann.
Okay, so we're doing pretty good, besides the budget and everything from Gail, we just are missing a few, little town things. Okay, the prudential report and the two things from the fire department, those, Gail doesn't do that.
The two things from the fire department?
fire chief's report, fire department chief's report, and fire department budget. Alan Ackerman, I guess, it should do those. I don't know. Anyway, that, and then prudential, okay? Jeff, okay, select board report, we need that. And then the rest of the stuff is Gail's budget stuff, besides the dog license, which that's coming, we know so that's all okay. On the appropriations.
Marianne, can I just?
Oh, sorry.
offer just a minute? Do you mind, maybe, would you mind catching the chief to remind him?
Yeah.
I've caught up with Jeff, so will you see him, or you're around town? I don't know if you ever, if not, I can.
Burrow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, Bill.
Yep, no, that's no problem.
Thank you. So there's 3 appropriations that are, I've got emails out, they need to send in their half-page reports, but they've done everything else. So we've sent all that stuff in, that's all good. The Noel LaFrancis thing, I'm gonna fix that a little bit. And then, we're pretty well good with that stuff. So on the contact thing, I'm just gonna change, I'll just put the administrative assistant, I'm just gonna change it to vacant.
Yep.
And then I'll do that in. And then the index is the last thing, and that's, at the end, I'll put that together, that'll be very good. I guess we're all okay. You need to, though, the select board needs to, take some time, or think about this, the week of there has to be some proofing of the, report, so there'll be a PDF. After the pre-press, there'll be a PDF, and that needs to happen pretty quickly, because I'd like to put the, I'd like it to be all, so that they have enough, a week at least, to print the book, but I'd like it to, the proofing to be done as quickly as possible, as soon as I get it back from the pre-press, so, because I've got it's a tight thing. So maybe the 8th, 9th, or 10th, you guys could read it and, proof it, so that would be one round of changes. Hopefully, we only need one.
So is that how does that
Just-
go historically? Is that like the whole board does it? Is there certain board
It
members say,
go-
hey, I'll proof it?
It's a lot of reading, so there hasn't been the whole board before, but the last board, the chair did it, but whoever wants to do
Sent
it.
it to me last year too.
Yeah.
I would encourage
And
us to
the-
break it up into sections and everybody take their section, but then you have an additional person who goes through the entire thing as well.
So maybe at our meeting next week, we can decide how we want to break it up into sections. Does that make sense?
And I don't know the exact day we're gonna get that back, but as soon as I do, I'll email it. It'll be like yeah, I think it'll be a link. I don't know how it'll come, PDF, I can't remember. I guess I could print a dummy.
Anything else, Marianne?
I think not.
Anything else on that agenda item for town report? Kelly, do you mind, or Kelly and Bill, I think you guys were doing the administrative assistant, just an update, just where we're at with that?
We are actually going to connect with Gail and Karen, and we put an updated advertisement in the Herald for Thursday and next Thursday. And then we're actually currently drafting interview questions and performance expectations.
So we'd be doing interviews 3 weeks from now-ish?
Hopefully.
3 to 4 weeks
I'd
from now.
actually think, hope before then, because it's gonna
Okay.
depend but we don't necessarily have to wait if we choose to hold interviews more than, instead of having everybody come on one day. If we
Right.
chose to hold interviews, then we could sort of be ahead of it
Oh,
based
okay.
on, yeah,
So as they come in, you could
yeah.
interview.
So just for,
And we're doing a vetting criteria as well,
okay.
yeah.
And I did put the position out there on the website, and I put the ad on the website. And I contacted the people that had already applied,
Great,
the 2 I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Anything else on that one. I just wanted to give a brief update. I was in contact with Rebecca Ellis from Senator Welch's office regarding the appropriation for the sewer plant, which we put in a letter. Intention is that, I believe the letter said that the intention was for the pump station rehabilitation. The appropriation is in there. There is an application that has to be done, and I apologize, some people may know this, but I'm just reiterating what I learned. We do have to put in an application. If we meet the criteria set forth by EPA, then the money's ours. You basically just put in, the thought is, we probably wouldn't have gotten the appropriation if we actually didn't already meet the criteria. So it's not a complete done deal, but $600,000 of federal funds is out there for us to apply to, likely to be ours to move forward with the project at the sewer plant for the pump station. There is a requirement of a 20% match. There are some criteria for rural communities. There's some demographic information that there's a potential for that to be waived, but it didn't sound like there was a high potential for that to be waived, the 20% match. So if we get a $600,000 grant, it would be $150,000 of local funds that would be needed to match that. There is a possibility that might go away, but that will come through part of the process. Rebecca gave me a few contacts locally because a lot of what's modeled in the EPA is also modeled in the state clean water fund stuff. So the criteria and everything kind of tracks. It's just that one is federal. So there's a couple of contacts when we get to that point that we may need to contact depending on how we move forward with that. One thing that she did mention that a lot of communities have had trouble with, and we may not, is having our unique entity identifier number, which used to be a DUNS number. And we do have our unique entity identifier.
There is something that you're going to have to re-up the SAM.gov thing, and the UEI is part of that, and that's going to be done in, I don't know, the ultimate deadline is March. If you miss that deadline, it'll just be harder. You got to re-up before you miss it.
Re-up the application or just the account?
The account, it's a federal account that we have, and it's for money. It's
through
for all
GSA or
grants.
something like that, yeah.
Kind of like that, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And it takes a while to
There's-
do it. It's not an easy process.
No, it's
I've seen
completely
emails
crazy.
from other clerks and treasurers. It's not something you want to wait till the last minute to do.
No, and I think it's more than one person that needs to do it because it's for accounting. So each person, and they may have to make you do that real ID thing. So each person, like for the ARPA, we had I was the administrative assistant, and then the treasurer, and then the chair of the select board. There's 3 signee, like signature people, and you have to pick your role and get your information in there.
Okay. Well, the good news is we have our unique entity identifier. We have that.
Yeah. We're all ready.
Okay,
to
cool.
do that.
Well, she just highlighted that some communities have had
Yeah.
a really hard time with that.
Yeah.
So. Cool. Sorry, Kara. Kelly.
No, just so that deadline is all set then? The one we just referenced, we don't want to wait till the
That's
last
just
minute?
to keep the government account.
That's just every year you have to re-up with SAM.gov, and
Okay.
just make sure your ID is with the people in the town are still the people in the town, and
Like, just
Who
like the
knows?
Secretary of State's.
The what?
It expires in March.
We do with the federal government, just like what everyone does for the Secretary of States at a state level. Okay, and it expires in March, so we need to do it, like
We
we have.
need to do it starting
Need to start right away.
ideally.
So, I mean, I didn't learn everything. I just asked some basic questions. I've got some notes that I'm having trouble reading my own notes, but we do have some contacts when we get to that point of making sure we put in our application and that kind of stuff. Maybe for a future meeting, because it's getting late, but is just a conversation of what we want to do at the sewer plant in terms of maybe inviting Otter Creek Engineering to come and talk to us about what they did last time down there and what it would take to maybe look at the whole system and make recommendations, you know, so.
I also wanted, I was wondering if it would be valuable to invite somebody from A&R after hearing Mike Whipple talk about kind of where we are with licenses and that whole thing of like, I'm wondering if we could just get some input on where we, how we move forward. I mean, we can't be the only town.
I think John Merrifield is the person that Mike has spoken to. I actually thought about calling today, but if somebody else wants to call, that's fine. I thought about just calling and having a basic conversation to get basic information and then say, hey, would you be willing to come to a future meeting?
What are our options?
And I'm happy to do that unless somebody else wants to. So, are you guys good if I call? Yes. I just want to, okay, cool. I just want to make sure that if somebody else wanted to. So I'll try to call John.
What's this last?
What are you asking? What is the question that you're asking?
Just talking general, just getting information from the state. We've got a lot of things going on down at the sewer plant. Just getting information from them, you know, licensing, certifications, vacancies, operations, that kind of stuff. That would be at least my initial conversations. I'm sorry?
I said that's where my mind goes of like what are some of the options we have in front of us?
Any other questions on that one? I just wanted to, I'd had the conversation, so I wanted to let folks know.
What's John's last name?
Pretty sure it's Merrifield.
It's all right. I'll just put it in there for now.
I've got it over here. Well,
Don't worry.
Mike gave it to me, so.
I can look it up.
Okay. Anyway. And again, it's getting late, so we don't have to talk about it. I've done some looking into the Zoom stuff. I worked with the OWL a little bit, but I was hoping that we could move forward with getting a business Zoom account. So as a minimum, we can live stream our meetings and have interaction, and then look into, you know, that's as a minimum, and then build upon that if we can record them, post them on websites and that kind of stuff. And I didn't know how folks felt about that. I'm happy to kind of, you know, getting whatever we have for a computer and seeing if we can get it loaded, or, I mean, you can sign into a Zoom account from any computer. I could get a Zoom account and, you know, I could work with Gail, get a Zoom account, and try to start getting to that point where we can have interactive meetings. I wanted to see how folks felt about that.
Sounds okay to me.
Or is everybody okay if I work with Gail, we got a Zoom account, and we at least start moving in that direction?
Yep.
I know there was some conversation about whether or not it be Zoom or not. I don't have a preference. I don't either.
Yeah.
The board in the past has used Zoom, is that correct?
The town does have a Zoom account. I mean, but it's just to, yeah, the town email, administrative assistant at Chelsea-spanVT is associated with a Zoom account. But it's
Okay.
not we're not paying for anything. It's just
It's the free account,
yeah.
right? I guess that's a question we'd have to.
So you could go in, do the password, go to Zoom, and then, you know,
Do an upgrade.
upgrade and put your credit card in and
Do
do all
you
that
have
stuff.
that
I think.
information, Marianne, that you could send to me?
Yeah, it's just it's just in the
The
town's.
login and password or whatever?
It's just in the, yes, I do. It's in the,
Okay.
printed in there.
Okay.
I didn't memorize it.
No, understood, if you wouldn't mind sending it, and, if nothing else, over the next few weeks and before town meeting, my hope was to at least play with it and get it set up enough that maybe we could do it, if folks agree.
I agree. I feel like that's kind of what I have heard, and I feel that's where we need to include or move towards.
And maybe what I'll do before we rush to buy it, I'll find out more. You asked the question, Lane, about the storage. I just haven't spent a lot of time looking at it, to be honest.
Curious, yeah, if once we start storing it, we have to continue and the cost is for like, I mean, do we have to store it indefinitely?
We need to store it.
Would, because it's a public.
Because it would be a public record,
I
so.
think there's some legal requirements, yeah.
I did start.
Yeah, and then you have to make it so that the public can access it.
Right. I did start reading, VLCT does have some information out there, so I started looking at that, but I haven't gone any further. Are there any other agenda items? I do want to provide the board an update based on the conversation I had on personnel.
Thank you, that's what I was gonna ask.
So but are there any other agenda items or any other items we need to talk about before that?
I don't think so.
I guess if that's the case, is there a motion to enter executive session?
Motion to enter
Executive session for discussion of personnel.
Is there a second?
Or inviting Karen.
We did that.
Do we invite
Karen?
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
So there's a motion and it's been seconded, discussion was to invite Karen to stay.
Yep.
Yes.
Is, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We are in executive session. Thank you, Gail.
Take a few minutes first.
Thank
I
you.
just wanna- Okay, and it's at 9:02.